Have you ever watched a game trailer and thought, yeah, that's too good to be true? Not that piece of shit. This beautiful, grotesque game that a lot of horror fans, and I included, are praying this will come into fruition and be real. Ill is a realistic first-person action horror game that takes you into a dark fort overtaken by a mysterious entity. Unpredictable monsters, a visceral dismemberment system, and realistic physics to create an atmosphere of relentless terror. They said that, not me, but God, I want to believe them. So let's go through all the bloodshed and dismemberment together as we try to get the key answer to how something so realistic looking might be a real game. When Ill was first presented to the world, it was released on a YouTube channel, well, two YouTube channels. One is called Verheim and the other Truvabot. The first trailer or concept trailer was released in 2021, which was Team Cloud's initial teaser trailer for Ill, showcasing their vision for a narrative-driven first-person survival horror game. This early footage set the tone for a game's atmospheric and grotesque style, and while the teaser was met with positive reception, there were people who wanted more, and people took to Reddit to express their concerns. There was comments on Reddit as such, the fuck was that? What was that trailer? It showed absolutely nothing. I highly doubt if they can successfully pull it off. Impressive horror game of all time. And then in late 2004, on the Steam discourse, people expressed more of their concern. One user wrote, "This new trailer shows 99% of old stuff. Everything you get is a dude standing in a corridor for 40 seconds. As of now, everything looks like an obvious scam." Another commented, "The game is actually just animated renders, which is why it's a lie." And you know, I don't really blame them, as in the past, we've always been duped by other games such as Cyberpunk, Watch Dogs, The Division, the fucking day before, and a whole lot of other Ubisoft games are pretty much 90% of Ubisoft games. And even with the new release of their recent trailer shown at Summer Game Fest a year after their last gameplay teaser, fans were still under distress just from how good and pre-rendered everything looks. But what if they were delivering all this time and they were cooking? It's safe to assume that the earlier concept trailer of Ill was most definitely pre-rendered footage showcasing their vision. It was about the atmosphere they wanted to project onto players to make them feel uneasy in this new horror setting. But what makes this project possible to be real was when they teamed up with Munfish Powerhouse, a publishing and co-development label from the creators of Atomic Heart. That moment marked the beginning of serious full-time production on Ill, including building a play-ready Eternal demo. An article on Final Boss gave us a developer update about the development process of Ill, and it seems like this is what Team Cloud really had to say. Game director and studio co-founder Max Verheim says, "We had an idea to make a brutal horror game with physics and decided to make a few videos that could represent our vision. It was a really small development to begin with. The road was bumpy and there was a lot of issues with location, team, and stuff like that." And he continued to say, "And then we sat and thought, hey, we should really start developing seriously full time. In summer 2023, we got together with Munfish Powerhouse, and that was the moment when actual serious production started. We built the team, we finished a playable internal demo, and goddamn, let me try that demo, man." I'll link the article below if you would like to continue reading for more information, as there's some neat stuff being said by the development team. But yeah, pretty much everything before 2023 was a concept, but full development was during 2023 and until now. Say what you want about, Atomic Heart, as it got mixed reviews, but at least that game was released in real, right? Teaming up with Munfish has been an even greater example of how this game can be more possible of being released. And since then, the studio has expanded to around 50 full-time developers, refining gameplay physics, gore systems, and narrative-driven story that is inspired by none other than Half-Life 2. I would also like to add, the recent Q&A Team Cloud did recently, we've gotten way more gems, and this one I think is more exciting. On blog.playstation.com, they did a Q&A. What kind of twisted minds can make a game like Ill? One's well-versed in the horror genre. The developers at Team Cloud have plenty of experience with horror, including working on several well-known TV and film projects. Longlegs, VHS, Beyond, It, Welcome to Derry, and are eager to bring their brand of terror to a new medium. We asked Team Cloud founders and incredible artists Maxim Verheyen and Olag, I can't say his last name, to let us pick their brains about Ill, the unique horror of Ill. As Verheyen tells us, Ill is a story-driven action horror game with visual visuals, gruesome moments, interesting inspiration, exploration, and wild ideas. A good mix of survival horror elements and first-person 3D action. We're working on a balance, the parts where players are shitting their pants from the fright with parts where players are screaming because they're enjoying the intense action, shooting mechanics, and dismemberments. And they also go on and say, we want Ill to make you feel like the horror is physically happening to you, not just psychological tension or scripted scares, but a kind of grounded body level discomfort. The main thing that sets us apart is how we combine hyper-realistic body horror with reactive, tactile world. Enemies don't just die, they suffer, adapt, mutate. Your actions leave a mark in the world's response. That is actually sick. There's so much more that, you know, I want to continue reading, but yeah, they're going all out. I will link this below. Yeah, I'll let you guys check this out if you want to continue reading this. People have every right to be skeptical about a game, no doubt. Always stay diligent, do your research, of course, but what I find fascinating is Team Cloud's ambition for this game that they're making and the limitations that they're pushing with Unreal Engine 5 pertaining to the gore and physics of the enemy variety. You know, it's given that uncanny feeling in nature. Of course, that's why fans were skeptical about the Summer Game Fest footage, since it looked way too good to be true. But, you know, is it so far-fetched that those sort of physics can be impossible to accomplish? I think what we have here is a team with a good resume, considering they worked on horror titles for movies, and a vision that they want us gamers to experience. But the lack of experience in the gaming department can be daunting for some. The lack of voice in the matter of players not knowing what this game is even about can be questionable, as developers of game studios being silent about the project has never been a good thing in the past, mind's eye. But that's not to say other developers haven't accomplished the same feat. I mean, look at Claire Obscure, Atomic Heart. You know, it was a game Mudfish developed, and it was their first baby being released into the gaming-sphere. There's a lot of success stories regarding your favorite games and studios whose first game has ever been released was a success. And so, you know, why can't this be too? Or maybe it'll flop. I, for one, believe that this game might be real and possibly amazing. Like, I can't lie, my hype for this game is, you know, right there. But obviously, so is my skepticism, just like you guys. I mean, you got the voice actor of Leon in the game, you better not f this up. Well, Sleepy Gamers, that's my process on the possible outcome of this game being real or not. Do you think it will accomplish what it sets out to do, or do you think it will be a bust and forgotten like other games that were too ambitious? Let's discuss in the comment section below. Also, like and hit that notification bell to get new updates on topics like this one, or if you want to check out my last video discussing Resident Evil 9 Requiem, right there on the right corner. All right, go count your sheep, catch your Z's, and go to sleep. Stay ill.